My name is Abhishek Mahin Prabhas. I am currently pursuing my BTech in Mission Institute of Technology, CSE, third year. Now I'm going to explain three main concepts of JavaScript: closures, callbacks, and promises. Going with the closures. Closure is basically a function that contains another function. The inside function has the scope to access the function that is defined in the outer block. So just as in lexical scoping, as we know, the inside values can access the local values to it. In the same way, this function can access the values that are local to it. So if you call that particular function, it can access that particular variable. Let's go with executing this. Add on another time. So here in this create counter, the variable let count is a private variable. So it can be accessed by all the functions mentioned inside the block of the create counter. We have defined these functions: increment, decrement, get count, and we are returning it in the form of a JavaScript object. The counter will be initialized with this object. Now from this counter, we can access these functions. As you can see, the output of printing the counter will be like this: increment is a function, decrement is a function, get count is a function. No matter how many times we use the increment, the value count will be incremented, and the decrement will decrease the value. Let's see how it works. Here the variable is initialized with 0 and then incremented twice and then decremented once. So obviously the output will be 1. In this way, the get count method is accessing the variable local to it. This is called as closure. Now we are going to talk about the callbacks. A callback is nothing but a function that is passed to another function as the argument. This will be executed once the first function is done. Let us go through it with a small example. Here, the fetch data is a function which accepts the callback function as its argument. So here we are passing this function as argument to the fetch data. When the fetch data receives the callback function, we are simulating if there is a delay. Like if we are trying to fetch the data somewhere from an API or from a database, it might take some time. And because of this, we are restricting the JavaScript to stay on that without executing any other methods or statements, but this will delay the process from being executed and will reduce the and will increase the total amount of the time, which is not so efficient. And so in order to test this, we are simulating a timeout, which is for 1 second timeout. So once the fetch data is called, it receives this function, and this function's objective is to print the message that is passed to it. We are passing this argument data fetched as a message, which is printed from through this callback function after 1 second. Let us test it. As you can see, there is a delay of 1 second. If we increase the time, basically the time is simulated there, as if there was something that takes time to return data in the same way. So the main issue with these callbacks are, if we are trying to implement callback functions one by one, like if a function has to be executed with the output from another function, it will lead to a chain of callbacks. Like if it's data callback, a callback is also calling to another callback, and that callback is calling to another callback, and we are trying to finally print the data that is passed from the top to the core. In that case, it makes it hard for coding and also to understand and also to resolve the errors that occur during this process. And in order to resolve this, we come with the concept called as promises. The promises are basically, uh, as the name suggests, they are promises which represent a value that may be available now or in the future or never. It works in the same way as the callback function, but in this case, as you can see, check out here. The promises has three states: pending, dissolved, or rejected. The pending state states that it is waiting for the output to come, like, or it is waiting for the data to come. It means that the data is loading it. The request is still in waiting state. Dissolved means the data is received, which means the promise is successful. It is done. Promise is like it is telling you that something is going to occur, and it doesn't tell you yet that it is successful or not. Resolve is executed once the promise is successful. Reject is executed once the promise is fails. So in here, we are simulating the timeout just as in the same as a callback function for a second. Once the promise is successfully done, the resolve method will be executed. The resolve will be executed, which through which we are passing this function. See it in this manner. For example, for the fetch data, we are trying to send a method. Just as in the callback function, we are trying to send a method called as whose main purpose is to print the data. For this promise, once the promise is successful, it would execute the resolve method. The resolve method is executed only if the promise is successful. Since the promise is successful, this message is being printed. In such a way, promises will be helpful. Let us check async promise. It is a modern way to handle asynchronous code. It looks like a synchronous code, but it is used to implement the asynchronous code. Uh, when the JavaScript thread comes here, and async keyword mentions that the particular block or a function is asynchronous. Uh, that means it expects something like a promise. It makes the code more readable and maintainable than callbacks and promises. Uh, Whenever the control comes to the await, it will know that it is wait. There is a promise that is yet to come. Until that, the next data will not be processed by the control. It will stay there. In this way, we are handling the asynchronous code looking like a synchronous code. In this case, we can catch the errors by using try or catch block code. So we are using both we are implementing a to-do list by using the closure property. The to-do list is a function which has a local variable called as private, called as all, which is a private variable to all these functions. Only these can access it directly. We cannot access it from outside. In order, if we need to access it, obviously we can return it, but it is better to handle them through the methods available inside the main method. We are returning all of these. I'll explain each of the function in more detail. This is the template code that is given to us for the assignment. We have to modify certain aspects of the code, making it work. We are given with a certain output, and our aim is to match the output. Let us go with this code first. In this const to do list, the all is a private variable to all these methods, and these are all the methods that are present in the to do list. So closure is being applied to all this property, and these all these methods can access the all variable. All is a list. Whenever add method is called, it adds a new object to the all array or a list. Mark as complete is used to, for example, let us take that a single entity of all is an object that contains the property completed. It sets that complete property to true, which is which is like telling us that the task has been completed. For overdue, if the current date is less than for overdue, the logic is if the target date for completing that project is less than the current date, it means that it is not completed yet, which means that the task is overdue. The same logic is being applied here. The new date returns the current date, and the to do dot due date gives us the target date, and the task is not completed. For due today, we are checking if the due date is today. That's it. The filter is used to filter. For example, the filter method takes each of the entity as to do and checks this condition and returns all the values that check this condition. For due later, the logic is same as overdue, but our date is less than the due date. For displayable list, we have a proper format to display the to-do items, the list of the items in the to-do list. For that, we use this. We are basically using ternary operator to check whether the task is completed or not. If the task is completed, we are using X to represent it, and if it is not, we are directly showing it in this manner. If the date is today, we are returning an empty string. Like if if for example take a task that has to be completed in future, that has to be completed yesterday, but we did not complete it. It comes to the overdue. We need to show the date also. For the items that we need to complete today, there is no need of showing the dates. For that logic, in order to apply that thing, we have used this logic in here. We are writing all this as an object, so we can access it through this. The to-dos has an object that contains all of these methods and this variable also. uh, Format string is basically used to format the string into the required form. The day today gives us the current date, and we are formatting it for comparisons. Yesterday gives us the day, just from the day today. Yesterday means -1, from the day today tomorrow means this one. We are adding these elements to the list. The to-dos object consists of the add method. Each of this object is added to the to-do this list, all list. All will be containing all this. As I said, completed is a property, due date is a property of that object. So we can access them to check whether the task is completed or not. Now for the printing part, we are segregating the tasks into overdue, due today, or due later. From all these, we can check whether the task is today, tomorrow, or yesterday. Let us check the output for this code. I am passing these tasks as the inputs for the add method, which will add it to the all list. It will consist of all these tasks. Now we are segregating it according to the method that we wrote in the to-do list. So let us check it. As you can see, for the titles, submit assignment, the date is yesterday. As you can see, the date will be printed in that showing that the task is not completed in the form of an array, brackets without any x. For due today, we have finished the task, which is parent service vehicle. We did not do it yet. For the due later part, we did not do both the tasks, since and also the date is also shown here. In this way, we are doing it. We can also add another object if you want to. Let us say it is also today. Pay for car wash. Let's check it out. See, it is added and it is not completed. If we make it true, it is done already. In this way, we are implementing the to-do list by using closures in JavaScript. I hope this will be helpful. Thank you.